We're going to bring in our casters for this one. They also were tasked with making a bracket together. How much fighting was had during that? And is yours also already in the dumpster?
Do I tell the truth, Matt?
Are we going to show it?
Well,
so it's...
yeah, you know, so I tried to reach out to Mitch, but you know he was doing his bougie regular thing.
Lie,
you know, so
false.
I
said we're gonna tell the truth.
Mitch was too busy. He was too busy picking out caviar. You know, he couldn't make time to bracket with me. So I picked what I thought Mitch would pick. Actually, this is how I went about it.
Anyway, so this is our bracket. How do you?
And
how
we're
do you
not
feel
doing
like
great this far.
No, it's not great.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
In fairness, I think the Spitfire shot game.
Right.
I looked at this bracket. I didn't make it, but I agreed with a lot of the decisions that Matt made. Oddly enough, the Spitfire shot game was a really close one. We thought that New York would actually, have what it took, but I think the Justice surprised a lot of people. I think Oasis has been able to do a lot with that team in a short amount of time, and there's always the alpha year aspect. So, you know what? It is what it is. Now, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I shouldn't have bet against Alpha Yeezus. Yeah, that was the mistake I think we made. The Alpha Yeezus, not siding with Alpha Yeezus was a bad move.
Either way, I'm really happy to see how this bracket is developing. I do want to say, Matt, this is like a legendary matchup between these two franchises. Over the years, Boston and London have always had really quality matches. Let's go back to season 1. It was like a best of 5. We're talking like Birdring back on the Spitfire. It was like a London win, but narrowly a map 5 situation. These teams have always gone head to head. Birdring obviously finds himself on the other side of the coin now, but this match is no less important than some of those huge ones going all the way back to the start of our league. The London Spitfire, credit where it's due. They're playing their game, and it worked against a team like the Shock, that's a huge endorsement.
You think back at some of those legendary matchups, the only person in the lobby who is in the league at that time is Birdring. It was Smurf and DK came a little bit later than everybody else after that, but look, I think Boston definitely has the advantage in this series. When you look at these two teams and how good that Smurf is on Junker Queen, and that looks to be the way that the meta is going.
For some.
London is, for some. I think it'll be the way that it goes for most, if not all, eventually. I know, at least on this patch, we'll see what kind of happens, with the mid-season. But right now, I feel like that Jungler Queen also has an advantage over these Reinhardt comps. So for me, like, if London's going to win, they need to play perfectly every single fight, every single map.
Now, I know not everyone is, all that interested in the history of Season 1 and how things went down. It's quite a long time ago, in fairness, but this was the map on which that 5th map decider was played, Oasis, and it's going to be a fun one to see how these comps play out, because, Matt, London said, Hardy was joking. They make jokes saying that everyone else is playing off-meta comps. This team genuinely believes that the Reinhardt setup is actually where it's at right now, and even up against, like, a Junker Queen look, it could be strong. But we know that Orissa's very, very good at pressuring that Reinhardt shield down at length before the fight even starts. I'm curious to see how London play around this aspect in the front line.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Because like Boston has so much like depth in terms of what they can play and throw at London, where London is basically just like, we're just going to keep on doing this Reinhardt thing and see how it goes. As Lee Gunn gets to the high ground really fast here.
Yeah, obviously always dangerous. London now, having been a little bit slower to get here, had to be careful. They know Lucio is lurking. Hardy going for the TP into the backside, but kind of fakes it out there. Admiral's able to find Izayaki anyway, and the Immortality Field thrown down behind enemy lines. London are ready for this kind of matchup.
Yeah, I catch him a little bit by surprise there as London take that first team fight. So even though Lee Gunn got to the high ground, like kind of got control of that early, it didn't really even matter. They just kind of got ran down there by the Spitfire.
And this allows you to circumvent that normal period of neutral poke damage that you would suffer from like a Bastion grenade and the Orisa damage, the Fusion Driver constantly pressuring the right shield down. You ignore that phase of the fight entirely by going for the throat with the Symmetra TP. That's something the Uprising don't have available to them in this composition, and something the Spitfire are surely looking to exploit. Look at this. Sparky gets the jockey back to the high ground here and have a pretty scary position to play from.
Yeah, they tried to bait them in a little bit, right? Where, Sparker's playing close to the Reinhardt. Maybe they kind of go get aggressive, and then all of a sudden he's up on the high ground with an Amp Matrix. So Boston didn't fall for that. Izayaki will heal an Amp Matrix here, but
this is
looks
so
like
good.
A big Sim Wall is going to deny a lot of that damage.
Why, the Amp Matrix thrown out by Izayaki in the right side door is essentially nullified. The Spitfire get to play an asymmetric game now. They can do the damage, but the Uprising can only fall back and be crushed underfoot.
This is not a great start here for the Boston Uprising. I mean, coming into this series, you're like, if this Genji, composition, right, and the things that they do with this doesn't get rolling, like maybe there's some other things they can fall back on. But London, if they're clicking with this Reinhardt comp, they've been proven to be able to beat really kind of whatever you can throw at them. Is right now looking in a great position to close out this first round.
To the high ground once more. The ultimate coming out from Bird Ring here. You've got to be cognizant of that right now. Spark is going to have to bear the front of him, but it's an immortality field that keeps him standing. Landed though, caught outside of it, looking in. He's taken down by the mortar strike, but the Spitfire trade evenly in this fight. Smurf is brought down and Hardy's still standing, which means the Spitfire have such a huge advantage. The charge goes wayward. He was looking for Decay as he came around the corner there. Backline hoping to juke, but he picks off Decay before he gets close enough. Hardy does lose out there to the Baptiste here, but Izayaki can only throw a drone down and wait for the sound barrier to come in. Boston can have the point back, but they spend dearly for it.
Oh, I mean, it is desperation to do so, right? I mean, they have to have Lee J. God come flying in there with a sound barrier at the end, as Backbone was the only one alive there for the London Spitfire. But look at this for London. I mean, you have an Ant Matrix, you have Sparker's, artillery, right? You have a lot of stuff to be able to work with. You're also going to get Backbone's wall, where, Izayaki's going to get that Ant Matrix, but it may not matter, just like the last time.
Charge from Hardy closes the gap. Playing from the low ground here is the rest of the Uprising. Also elect to drop down, and so does Spitfire take the high instead. Izayaki's down. He saw Decay try and dash up onto the high ground, but his backup's going to be pretty limited now as Lee J. Gon's caught in the choke. Hardy not aware of the Lucio behind him, so he doesn't swing, but Burbering's going to be brought down instead. Spark is going for it. Oh, he's going for it. Smurf's able to win out, though, in the close quarters fight. Decay's looking to clean up Admiral. The London Spitfire definitely threatening here. The TP play is so scary, but they don't flip back.
Yeah, they don't end up using either of those ultimates that I was really talking about at the start. They end up using their Amp Matrix there, but Izaaki feels no need to invest the one that the Boston Uprising have, so they hold on to that for this next fight. You're also gonna get a shatter here, but I don't know. I mean, maybe you kind of force them into that back corner. You have an opportunity to get a big shatter, but really with all this high ground play, it's going to be tough.
Hardy's been credited with some of the most electrifying TP Earth Shatter plays we've ever seen. Okay, the beat was there from Lee J. Gon, but it's not going to be enough to knock the Spitfire off the map. He's getting close. Oh no! Through the air matrix. It's Hardy with a fire strike that caught Izayaki. Now the Baptiste is down for the Uprising. They've only got Lee J. Gon's sound barrier. He's got to pop it now. It's only going to be given over to Smurf, and Lee J. Gon himself with a hit with the shatter after the fact, and Admiral's there to clean Decay up as he creeps in from the periphery. This is flawless from the London Spitfire. They will take it back at 100 to 80. And that Sim TP is impossible to predict.
I mean, that is literally what the London Spitfire have to do over the course of the whole series. They played every fight pretty much perfectly, catching the Uprising off guard a lot of times with those Sim TPs, getting the Reinhardt and the Bastion into the mix. Now can't win.
Yes. London have a tendency of getting reverse swept on control maps, is what they're referring to. So keep that in mind here. Is the layout of City Center might require Hardy to play the Junker Queen instead of the Reinhardt, which obviously offers you a little bit less in terms of, I don't know, knocking the enemy team on their ass multiple fights.
Also true. This will be quite interesting if Boston stays on this. Yeah, we're gonna get just a mirror matchup yet again. So Decay's Genji felt really quiet there in that first round. I think if you're gonna really make there's something out of this for the Uprising, like his Genji, especially going after that Bastion, has to be huge.
I mean, you're playing into an Ant Matrix and sound barrier setup, so sometimes it's hard to pick your spots adequately. There's one fight where he has a decent blade in like a clutch scenario, but gets burnt down by Backbone's primary fire as he spaced really well in that fight.
I like the idea. I mean, they didn't use that. Hardy gets really low. It looks like he gets split from the rest of the team and ends up on the point. But the idea of like dropping down those TPs and then faking through it, right? Not actually taking it, maybe just trying to force some position. That time they go right on through it. And they just get mowed down by Birdring and the rest of the Uprising.
Hardy very much caught out of position there by the looks of things, whether by his own design or by the Spitfire being forced to backtrack there. That's not ideal. The shield is that way. Backbone behind you.
Well, I mean, this is also, this is the patch where the Bastion grenade is essentially his ultimate, right, on just a little bit of a cooldown. So he's able to just basically just blow players up with it, where I mean, Backbone right there, it looks like he may have just gotten like directed by it, or even takes just a large chunk of damage. Well, right there, they TP, they go right into Decay.
Great presence of mind. Both teams going to throw down these immortality fields after the Amp Matrices come out. Mortar Strike here from Birdering. Plop down, they come. Hardy charges, get caught. Oh, Birdering. Okay, the Fortify used it by Smurf to make it impossible for Hardy to charge out of that Mortar Strike. Gets finished off by the Bastion. Birdering has to give up his life for it, though.
He looked like he was charging into the Mortar Strike, at least from my POV. Maybe there was one like right underneath his feet, and there was one kind of moving on
go back.
But
and we know that Chardy doesn't charge backwards.
Pretty fast though.
Yeah, TP helps.
No.
They're set up on the point now, playing a pseudo bunker around the Bastion, and this barrier from the Symmetra ultimate is going to help in that effect as well. Smurf trying to play around it here. Hardy repositioning with a very short charge now, and Smurf doesn't want to overcommit. The Uprising still control the point here. No incentive to overextend. Going to be a Terror Surge now. Oh, the Immortality Field's gone. It's carnage. Smurf brings Lennon down. Birdering eventually going to be traded out. Hardy stays alive for long enough to charge Lee J. Gone into a wall, but eventually Smurf will drag him down too. Smurf right now 5-5. Many of his final blows coming in this round.
Yeah, and it looked like for a second there that like Lee J. Gunn was almost going to boot them out of the Terror Surge, but they end up getting rid of that Immortality Field, and then just a large chunk of damage comes down at once as London has looked lifeless here on our second point.
Yeah, slow start to be sure. Amp Matrix plus Bastion Grenade is scary. The Spark has one of his own prepared. Hardy, charge available here. Oh, that's not ideal. He's moved out of position, and yes, Birdering is knocked to the ground, but there's so much defensive architecture for the core of the Uprising lineup that shatter eventually goes for nothing. Now, you're in the doldrums. It's just a Symmetra to play around in a speculative Mortar Strike from Spawn. And there it is, the prophecy fulfilled. London fail to have an impact here on City Centre.
All right, so now London, you know, they kind of joked about it, but now you're in like real territory of you know, just winning the first one then losing the next two here on the control. Is maybe though the Symmetra works out a little bit better here, a little bit more close quarters, not a lot of opportunity like if the TP comes in for you to spread out and get away fast. So maybe they're able to get some more value out of it.
Decay having a much better round. He's at 10-4 right now, so credited with many of the final blows that occur here. So here's the Terror Surge. Lee J gone under it, boop upwards here. Look, yeah. Admiral's trying to beat, so that delays the beat activation, and he can never get it off.
That is sick.
That is gorgeous stuff from Lee J gone. These two teams now putting their best feet forward. Hardy will be back on the Reinhardt once more. This time Smurf chooses the Queen.
Yeah, what do you think about the Queen now with also a Symmetra of their own in the mix?
Again, Smurf really loves to be able to get to grips here. The Reinhardt is an issue because of the charge, but I mean, your Sim turret can set you up wherever you want to be. I thought personally that Smurf was playing Orisa purposely to punish the Reinhardt, to make it hard for Hardy to have that impact. Also, the Fortify is very strong to block charges and the like. So I would have thought the Queen maybe would struggle a bit against this setup. But with the Sim TP, you can go wherever you want.
I feel like the Queen is really good in these like brawl scenarios, and you don't have the damage of this Bastion, right? But if you just wait out the wheels mode, right, then you have an opportunity to go.
Oh, great little reposition there from Sparker. Izayaki caught off the rest of his team. Decay out in the open somewhat as well. No one's ready for this with the backside. Birdering slaughtered there. Wheels mode absolutely leaving a mark. Can't do too much about a flanking Bastion.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if you allow Sparker to get that type of value and playing the Bastion, especially just inside of no wheels mode, Sentry mode, where all of that damage is coming from, really, then this is not going to work out here for Boston, right? The Queen just kind of stuck in no man's land, so to speak, right? Where you're not able to block any of that big damage.
Smurf here allowing the Spitfire to rotate back to the point here.
Early in Ant Matrix.
Yeah, we're going to wait that one out. See the Simtar is absolutely everywhere. Boston probably know that London have them set up pretty defensively. Was that through the Ant Matrix? Had it not already expired?
Yeah, it looked like it.
It's unclear.
Yeah,
Hardy might have found him with the last tick of it.
End of it?
I'm not sure what happened there. That is devastating, though. That really puts you on the back foot now if you're Boston. You do have your own Ant Matrix to work with, though. You really should be winning this fight.
I mean, that's the difference between this next fight kicking off, you know, at like 28, 29%, almost like an even game, to giving an extra 15, 20% over to London.
That's massive. You can play inside the side room now. You can essentially play around this Ant Matrix with consummate ease. Okay, well, we have a quadrisected map right now with 2 walls being thrown up. Hardy also hit by that, that Rampage. 5 people affected by Smurf's ultimate. And Decay looks to try and follow. Oh my goodness, you're kidding! From the top rope, Hardy comes in and Decay gets no blade for his troubles. Birdring, though, picking up where he left off. He's found 2 already in this fight, and Sparker needs to salvage with a Junker Queen standing in his way, and he's burning down. Smurf eventually silences the Omnic Menace, and the Uprising are back in the hot seat, but the Spitfire are making it fun.
You know, what's crazy is they end up flipping this at the end, right? Where Sparker is actually inside of his ultimate, obviously dropping that down as Bastion. You'd almost rather just have him in wheels mode doing the damage, right? It takes him out of that for a period of time. They don't have that front end damage, and
again
getting ran through. But they get Izayaki again early.
Early picks on the Baptiste have been the story of this game so far. That's where so much of the capture percentage for the Spitfire has originated. Now you're gonna have to play slow. Sparker's a little bit low here. There might be an opportunity for the Uprising to get in. I say it, but no. Lander gets brought down by Lee Jae-gon. But Backbone is all over this fight like moss on a rock, and the Uprising had better figure this out quick.
I mean, Lee Jae-gon able to make it out with his life. I mean, just barely. So, I mean, now you come in here for Boston, right? I mean, you're going to have absolutely nothing. And you mentioned, like, you know, they don't have that Fortify, right? Playing the Junker Queen. Hottie's got to shatter. I mean, a massive opportunity here to seal this first map in London's favor.
You had to know there's a potential Amp Matrix to play around once more, but that Sim barrier being up, Matt, that's devastating. You can shatter from behind that and guarantee connection on that ultimate. Hardy goes for the charge. He'll be moved back. He had no shield available. Here comes the shatter, and it catches Smurf. That might be enough. The Immortality Field, though, prolongs the lifespan of the Queen until the swing comes through, and Hardy completes the kill. Backbone playing from behind the wall. It's almost deterministic at this point. Birdring attempts to throw one up of his own, and Decay looks to dance the wall. He has to go elsewhere, though. Izayaki's brought down. Decay's a non-factory, dove down the well, and even Lassie can't get him out. The London Spitfire start off with a bang. What a way to begin the series on Oasis.
Oh, I mean, that is a huge gut punch there to the Boston Uprising, guys. Now, they come into this series a heavy favorite going against London, who really we see like one great look out of them at the moment, and they obviously make it work here in our first map, which I think now Boston, they have to seriously kind of consider the different types of maps they pick.
13 and 7 for Backbone over the course of that map, and my goodness, that 3K with Symmetra was a big deal. Let's take a fun look back. Let's start with the man himself here. Backbone was a problem, not even necessarily the primary fire map, but these TPs made it very hard for the Uprising to pick their fights.
I mean, they always seem to be in a great position, you know, using that teleporter to catch players off guard. And then there's so much focus on like Sparker and Hottie putting down this damage that you just let the Symmetra just ramp up.
See there, nicely done by Smurf. He really shut down Hardy on this round. This is a quiet one for the London Spitfire, to be sure. But then we saw a switch back to the Junker Queen, and we sort of discussed what the neutral fight would look like, what the brawl was. Hardy was opting out of those engagements, but this is just absolute chef's kiss. Decay nothing but a smear on the wall when moments before he thought he'd be winning the fight for his team. Oh, so good.
I mean, if you're Boston, what do you kind of consider doing here on Hybrid? Like in terms of map selection, as it looks like actually they're going to select Midtown. So pretty interesting. You can actually run a lot of these compositions that, you know, London likes to run here on Midtown.
The time is right for the rush, the brawl style, and London look to be one of the best teams piloting it. Stick around and see if the Boston Uprising can find an edge, or if this could go south quickly. the way. Symmetra and Bastion locked and loaded for the London Spitfire. Paired with Hardy on the Reinhardt, they prevail on the map of Oasis, and there are a few elements that give them the edge, but a big one, Matt, we've got to talk about it. Someone predicted by Jake to be a difference maker in this matchup. It's your boy, Backbone.
Oh, I mean, his sim was sick in map number 1. We could take a look at some of the stats, but I know 13 final blows, players teleported. That is so 111.
What a great
in
stat.
11 minutes. I mean, that is wild in terms of player movement, right? You know, we talk so much about like Lucio and how he's able to kind of like change the game in terms of, you know, moving players around. Obviously, a teleporter can do that as well. With
10 players a minute.
London puts to great use.
The Boston Uprising, oddly enough, right, they either have the Sim or the Bastion, but never both. Decay plays Genji for much of this series, and when they do well, he tended to shine. But without that, without him having a big game, it looked a bit awkward. I think like this, the London Spitfire are all in on the Sim Bastion setup all the sort of way through. Whereas maybe it's a hero pool consideration, but Boston aren't fully on board with this, and it may have hurt them in some ways. The Genji, you know, seemed feast or famine, safe to say.
I mean, everybody seems like they can play Sim, right? In some aspect. I think it's probably more like they're not necessarily like not being able to like play the hero. It's more of like maybe you're not getting much use out of the teleporter.
Sure.
Like if you feel like you can coordinate and play around that teleporter, and you know, maybe not to London's kind of you know, use and efficiency, right? But even a little bit better, there's no reason to kind of pick it, right?
Yep, that may be true. Sparker, Backbone have been a problem, make no mistake. And we talked about this before the break when we saw the map picked. Midtown is an opportunity for London to play the exact same comp they have been so far. I mean, there's no reason why this doesn't work just as well as it did on Oasis in many parts of Midtown.
Yeah, that's kind of like the weird part about maybe picking Midtown is that like you can run a lot of the same stuff.
What do you pick instead?
Here.
Out of curiosity.
I mean, you think about, you go like a
Numbani.
Maybe it's a little bit harder to, like you can play like split up on the high ground, right? On defense at least, like.
It seems a risky one because it kind of requires Echo.
Yeah, it is. I mean, maybe this is the best pick, realistically, but they'll play the Orisa-based composition here, you know, with the Genji and Bastion in play. So, like you mentioned, they're not going to run the Sim.
I feel like I could give you some decent options here. We've seen teams TP from this underpass into the top floor of the fire station. Be able to play from there. I'm not necessarily suggesting that puts you in a great spot, but it's something.
A little bit of a wrinkle here is Backbone on the Mei, so not going to be playing that Sim, but has just, you know, great survivability, and then also the opportunity to just split the point off, right? You know, deny the bash to the sideline.
They couldn't bring Smurf down in time. Hardy was just getting worked further and further down. Birdring obviously making that even harder, exacerbating the situation with this raw damage output. Eventually Hardy succumbs and the rest of the Spitfire are scattered.
Yes, Backbone falls really late here. I don't know if you're even going to be able to get like another touch. I think you're just hoping that Backbone actually kind of spawns with the rest of the team, and you're
got 2 back spawners.
actually able to make something going. And yeah, they get 2 back spawns, so that's brutal.
But there's a
You
Lucio
see,
there.
You know, those X-rays on the map.
Yeah,
running all the way back.
I guess Admiral opting to spawn back with Backbone to bring him back into the fight. This Backbone obviously dies last here, so that's fine for the Spitfire. They kind of plan that.
They want to go fast with this Blizzard.
Or at least play in a good spot for a wall, right? Ooh, that's scary for Backbone. He was outside of the Immortality field for a time there, and Hardy extended into the fray. Izayaki had already done his due diligence in getting rid of that Immo, and the Uprising capitalized on that Amp Matrix.
And the Blizzard, I think, gets eaten there by the spear spin of the Orisa.
Chopped up.
So they don't even get a use of that Blizzard, where maybe there's an opportunity to swap here for London, but Boston has looked clean thus far. I mean, they have just about everything here going into this next fight, which, you know, may give them that second checkpoint.
Your protocol in that fight entails extending into the enemy team behind the Blizzard. So just because the Blizzard gets cut down in mid-air doesn't mean you stop. You don't have time. Hardy was fully committed already by that point. Horrific way for the fight to go, and oh, this is a scary place to be under the mortar strike, and it has to be an Immortality field to keep Sparker and Hardy vital. Sparker will have one of his own though, and he won't be interrupted in doing so. He's able to get the Immortality field at least, but there's a sound barrier from Lee Jae gone. The Spitfire are boxed into that small room now. How do they work their way from this position? Sparker going low, the Terror Surge is going to be a huge problem, and they've lost the Bastion. Now they're going to get run down. It's utter carnage in the subway. And the Boston Uprising, it's barely a break in stride across the map.
No, I mean, that was just a bloodbath there in favor of the Uprising. No, Smurf on the Orisa has just made a huge impact, right? Just being able to push this Reinhardt back, you know, the
shut down the Blizzard,
to be able to live through a lot of this.
Shatter?
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge one. That's a Shatter and Matrix here used too.
Decay has to peel back. He was maybe thinking about trying to work his way through Hardy, but the sound barrier made him essentially impervious to the assault of the Genji. And now it looks like the Spitfire are just going to be able to set themselves back up just outside of that second checkpoint. Couldn't be a better time. You've got your Blizzard back as well.
Oh.
So Backbone hopes to make use of it after a bit of a stagger on Smurf.
Yeah, as they just let him kind of try and run away, but always a little bit of a tease there. As the Uprising now will have a Amp Matrix, but see, Backbone has this Blizzard again. Maybe get better value out of it. That fight's huge. I mean, this gives them an actual real shot of maybe holding before the second checkpoint.
It's all about the Blizzard here. Make no mistake. Backbone very wary, of course, of Smurf's ability to negate it. And the potential Amp Matrix from Izayaki. This is awkward. The wall's going to come up straight away on the enemy side of the Amp Matrix, which means the wall's going to be very hard to break. Here's a Blizzard. He waited for the spear spin. Smurf going to try and get out of it, but he is frozen stiff. And Sparker managed to catch Lee J. Gon with that bouncing nade. 2 consecutive potential fight wins here for the London Spitfire. They stick the landing again. And this is huge. Now they can cycle into some of their support ultimates too.
Yes, Decay falls near the end. So where's the path of, I mean, you're nowhere close to sound barrier, right? So, you know, but Decay's not really actually close to that Blade, right? So maybe an opportunity. You're far ahead in terms of an Amp Matrix, right? So they're going to be forced to run into this Amp Matrix. You win that fight. Now you're down about, you know, probably about a minute on the clock, right? And you feel like you probably have beat coming up and Shatter at that point. So you're in a decent spot here in terms of ultimate economy for the London Spitfire.
Oh, that is so terrible. Oh, Birdrick's in trouble. Landon finds Lee J. Gon first, though. Birdrick commits to the low ground, and Sparker might have overextended here. Yep, the fortified Orisa means that's not a target he can work his way through. I don't think he's on the same page as the rest of the squad. But the Spitfire can still group up around this. No Amp Matrix left. There's a Terror Surge that could punish Hardy for overextending here, but he gets a spear to the face for his trouble. Backbone ice block to the low ground, but he is isolated right now. Admiral hoping to help out, and there's going to be an MO just in time, but that'll be brought down before the Terror Surge connects, and Backbone is gone. Hardy goes for the Shatter. Smurf didn't have the Fortify, but Decay's Blade is there, and Backbone falls. Sparker able to find Lee J. Gon. I don't know how that Mortar Strike, but Decay's Blade should be enough to seal the deal. The deflect there, insult and injury in equal measure as Sparker succumbs.
I feel like the London Spitfire gave that away. You know, Sparker, when he goes on that flank for whatever reason and he falls, I mean, everything just crumbles after that, where I feel like if they don't lose him there and just kind of like, you know, obviously they're going to wait Boston to get full strength to get back together. You have a real opportunity to win it there.
From the high ground, this is a scary prospect. Sound barrier has to come out here as Landon and Izayaki's immortality filtered down. There's no defensive architecture left. Now it's all attack, all the time. And Matrix thrown out by Landon, but he needs to stave off Lee J. Gon, who's more than just a small problem. Meanwhile, Smurf was able to take Backbone out of the fight, so he's not able to ramp up.
Kill Lee J. Gon.
Yep, no, it's not possible.
That is unbelievable.
Guy's hard to hit.
I mean, they had both supports going at him.
They're moving the car while they stagger Hardy. This is devastating. Look how close it's getting.
I mean, you went from a game that was potentially like, you know, you could have held before that second to just getting rolled now here towards the end. I mean, this is brutal here for London.
Fake TP thrown up. No, gonna be used, and Smurf comes in with the Javelin spin, and nobody from the Spitfire can touch. That stagger on Hardy costs the London Spitfire a chance to recontest properly.
I mean, it's really once they end up losing Sparker, and Sparker's playing that off angle there by that second point. They win like, what, 3 fights in a row pretty much, and then they get a first pick, and then he just kind of like goes out towards the side. Maybe he thinks he can get another one or something along those lines, but as soon as they lose him there, the rest of the map is all Boston Uprising.
London, yeah, a couple of those fights consecutively. I was wondering coming into that, I think the Uprising only had the Terror Surge to use. The question was, how do you get good value out of this? But when Backbone uses Ice Block, he can't move after the fact. He is stuck there until he comes out.
No.
Terror Surge comes down, and Backbone doesn't have enough time to get out of the ice block and escape. There's so much charge up on that Orisa ultimate. You guarantee the kill on the Mei, which is one of the highest priorities and also one of the hardest people to take out of the fight early. You're laughing all the way to the bank. I will say Decay had a great Dragon Blade here, able to play around a lot of those very annoying defensive utility pieces, like Sound Barrier, like the Immortality Field. Great patience from Boston, and a good pace in general.
Yeah, and I think here for London, you're forced to run the sim, right? I don't think you have an opportunity to run that Mei kind of walking through the choke here. I think that's like probably more of just a defensive setup where now you're going to run this sim. So let's see if it makes any difference.
Something that obviously Boston did not elect to do, and they were still able to break through. So where does the turret go? Stay out of line of sight first. You need to be quick about this. Probably headed upstairs. Okay, on to the point immediately. They're really taking the direct approach here, and they're wondering where the heck the Boston Uprising are. They've not seen hide nor hair of them so far, and here they come playing around the fire engine. So you get a tick, you back away. Scot-free, no punishment for getting that capture progress, and now you can plan your next move in a very defensible location. Here they come once more, Matt.
Yeah, and maybe Boston thought that like originally they were going to TP and then go into wheels mode straight away and just avoid a bunch of that damage, but now they're kind of just battling for this position, right? Still that one tick where looks like London, right? They'll come out, they'll try and put down some damage with that bash. If it's not enough, they back up.
Okay, here's the TP. Gonna reposition now. Trying to maybe take a high ground spot. Pretty good for your Bastion. Decay's already gone in here now. Lee J wants to try and pressure down the Symmetra. Decay forced him to deflect, and Birdring finishes the job in his stead. Now it's a scary place to be if you're Sparker. He gets leapt upon as well, and slowly, for all their finesse, for all their supple movements around the map, the Spitfire still only have one tick of capture progress.
Yeah, and I think it's way easier on Control for them to play this way, right? Where you know where the objective is like static, right? It's usually like more of a close quarter type of scenario, right? Where you TP in, then the fight kicks off here, where you TP in, but then there's like an opportunity for Boston to back up, give up some progress. There's many different things they can do. Yeah, they put down the TP, but they don't actually take it, but then still doesn't look like they're going to gain anything.
Their Matrix position is bizarre, but it doesn't seem to really matter in the grand scheme as Smurf charges headlong into a waning mass of Spitfire players. That is 3 consecutive team fight wins, burning the clock down to 1:20.
Yeah, and I mean, you were like, where was
Excuse me,
this
2 minutes.
Boston, right? Yeah, I mean, 1:20 for Boston, but where was this Boston, for most of map number 1, right? Same composition, just maybe a little bit different in terms of the game. But let's see if they take the TP this time. They do. So this is going to look very reminiscent to that first fight. Both Bastions holding on to that Sentry form. It's just going to be like Lee J trying to...
I mean, if you... Oh my goodness!
Yeah, oh!
They're hoping to force an early Immortality field.
That is not good.
I love that. And the Spitfire called their bluff. They say, no, we're not going to waste our Immortality here. And they lose their key player as a result of that. That is absolutely backbreaking. And now we're down to 1:20 for the Spitfire. That's not enough time to have 2 full fights. They've got to go, and they've got to go now. TP.
Yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, you're going to TP, same position, right? They don't have that artillery to play off of. So look, here comes the wheel smoke. You can just back out, and then they use the sound barrier. Now they're going to blade.
Immortality field there. Hardy's very low. And Decay says, that'll do. I'll play for the high ground for now. He knows there's turrets in that room. If he overextends, he will be slowed to a crawl and eviscerated. So a TP now, another reposition for the Spitfire to the other end of the quadrangle. As Decay's forced back around the corner under deflect. We're getting close to 2 ticks now, and the Uprising have that Terror Surge to work with. In goes Decay once more. It's going to be a Symmetra wall on the point. Smurf is gold right now, and here's the Terror Surge. Hardy will stand in it for the time being and try and back out. That's fine. The Sound Barrier helping there, giving the durability to survive that explosive ultimate. And the Amp Matrix can be covered up by Hardy here. He'll play from behind this pillar. There's not enough players behind it to break his shield. And now Birdring should be staved off here. He's looking healthy though. The grenade could be a wrinkle in this plan. Backbone from the backside though, finds his mark.
They got scary there for a second because you had what? Birdring and Izzyaki still there. They take out Sparker and Hottie. It was like a little bit of a 2v2, but finally, London able to break on through. They just don't give themselves a great opportunity here for this second checkpoint. Not a ton of time.
19 final blows for Smurf. That is as much as the entirety of the Spitfire have combined.
Oh,
Hardy getting juggled.
Hardy's in a rough spot.
Yeah, scary. That immortality field didn't last long, and nor did Hardy. It's back to the drawing board again for the Spitfire. But the Uprising might not let them off so easy. Lee Jagon hangs out a little bit too long, maybe hoping the rest of the Uprising were a step or two further forward on that chase.
Yeah, maybe they kind of communication was they were going to chase a little bit harder because he's the only one who kind of follows that up.
He wanted it.
So this will... Yeah, I mean, Lee Jagon always wants it, though. So you don't know if it was just a Lee Jagon type of play where he's going to go in, try and disrupt, or maybe the rest of the team didn't go with him. Artillery here gets Decay quite low, and then Landon's going to finish him off.
Surgical strike and surgical extraction of Decay. Landon here, playing from this low ground, trying to usher the rest of his team to come forward, and so they do. He was moving the car through the other path the whole time. Now, though, you're in a scary spot going up against the Mortar Strike. The Exo boots quickly, though, carry Landon to safety, and we're still on the road. London have a minute 34 to work with here. It's all on the table still. Smurf with the Fortify trying to knock the Spitfire away from being able to make use of that amp matrix, and it works out. It gives them a window, no pun intended, to pressure without that amp damage coming back their way, and Birdering is in an unassailable position.
Well, it looks like what they do there is see how he gets staggered out here for a bit. They drop the amp matrix and then they put the TP behind it, and it just gives the Boston Uprising an opportunity to just fast react, right? Where they're able to see where the amp matrix is, see the TP going through it, and then the Genji can just like dash on through, right, towards that teleporter, play from behind that amp matrix, and really nullify its effect.
These staggers are brutal, Matt. Somewhere previous Titans player FRD is shuddering, and he doesn't know why. Here's the wall. Okay, Blade from Decay. He's well and truly amongst the pigeons right now, but the Immortality Field's going to slow him down. Sound Barrier also going to blunt the Blade. He'll play back instead here. He's forced out some key defensive utility, and now he needs to hope the follow-up is going to be good, but Hardy found Birdering in the meantime, so the lion's share of the damage for the Uprising is gone. The London Spitfire, they get that second checkpoint with about 30 seconds left, and so it's 2 minutes to play. 2 minutes to finish the map.
And you're going to get a stagger here on Izayaki. So let's see where you can actually get the payload. Probably around that first corner, right? You're not going to make it much further than that. But Shatter, Artillery Strike, and Opportunity, you're not going to be able to beat this Boston time, but at least get it into OT rounds.
SimTP giving you this high ground control, a very powerful spot to play from, but that cart still needs to come forward. So for a time, the Spitfire occupy the perch and force the Uprising back around his corner. The Shadow, he whips around the corner. It's going to be Birdering caught by that one, but the Immortality Field saves his bacon for now. Admiral eventually going to commit and follow up. Hardy's very low here. The spear goes wide. He's low, but he's being kept alive, and Smurf can't get to grips with him. That is so well played
60 HP.
around the shield. Hardy hangs on, and this is 4 players for the Spitfire, headed for the goal.
You just see how much pressure, though, that Orisa puts on the Reinhardt, right? Where he's just getting pushed back with the spear spin. Can't push in because of the Fortify. Artillery here. This will be the Boston Uprising. So Birdering, drop this down. Immortality Field destroyed.
I think he got what he wanted.
Both sides coming in here. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Early Immortality Field, and Matrix with the Bastion, scary prospect. Landon, though, taken down. Decay already found its way into the backline. That's the Decay you're looking for in this game.
Let's see. That's the thing. Boston has done a much better job adjusting to this TPs, where the teleporter comes down and they know the amp matrix is going to be on the other side, instead of, you know, how they were kind of playing it earlier. This time they had their own amp matrix, but what they do is they just push right on through it. It's very telegraphed, obviously, where it's coming from with the teleporter.
Oh, even though the Spitfire get around the Uprising with a TP, they lose land into another grenade from Birdering. 25 final blows for Birdering in this game. And now it's just Admiral. Backbone on the point, the Sim TP's thrown up, and here's a Terror Surge for your trouble. Admiral will escape from it, almost with his life. The Smurf eventually brings him down, and that is going to be that. The Spitfire pull up short on Midtown. As the Uprising, Matt, you said it, they adjust to this TP play. The Decay Genji, while not the headliner in terms of DPS output, was so pivotal in so many of those fights, but Birdering goes 26-5.
Well, I feel like London had an opportunity on their defense, like we talked about, right? They started to, you know, lock things down, so to speak, on that second point, and then Sparker pushed it up a little bit far. They get caught, and then after that, I mean, it is nothing going for the London Spitfire on defense. Boston able to just run it down the rest of the map. But I think when you saw the Symmetra come back out, just a really good adjustment there from the Boston Uprising.
We saw the Blade pulled on this part of the map multiple times, both on attack and defense, and each time it happened, it was really important. On defense, Decay forced out, I think, an Immortality Field and a Sound Barrier, and I think he was fine with that. We saw the Symmetra being pretty threatening, but a lot of cute repositioning, a lot of attempts at outmaneuvering by London on the attack. They just lost 3 minutes for their troubles. They were never actually able to win the team fight.
Yeah, I mean, they just never able to kind of get something that looked clean as we take a look here from Birdring. I mean, look at this, just shooting right through that AM Matrix. I mean, that is easy pickings for Birdring there from the high ground. And this one, you see the AM Matrix drop there? Decay is already through that. So he's already on the backside putting down some damage. And then you get some damage and players down from the side where they can't get any value out of it.
Suravasa coming up next for your Flashpoint map. We definitely have a game on our hands now as these two franchises lock horns yet again. Explosive as always.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself.
You gon' need 100 men, 100 scopes, 100 cans just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, MCs doing the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 pence. Yeah, what I supply is always in the man. The throne is mine, take that. It ain't a high five, got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know putting fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they been asking me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling, I showed them the jig is up again.
We're looking at a team who, in any other universe, could have been in a position to not have to play play-ins at all. That's right. The Boston Uprising had an opportunity, multiple of them, to find themselves directly into the playoffs. So a match like this, against a plucky London Spitfire, is the bare minimum for this team. A victory here and then advancement through the play-ins can be the only thing on this team's mind. And what a way to bounce back in map number 2.
Yeah, I feel like London also a really scary team to kind of be playing against, at the moment. We'll dive into that a little bit later, but Birdring had a pretty good map there on Midtown. Is going to look at across this roster, right? Just some legendary players, and take a look at Bastion for the whole series, though. 14, final blows. What is this? With 22 minutes played,
yep.
So pretty good there for Birdring also keeping the deaths down.
Yeah, I mean, he had an absurd output in that previous game. Close to deadlift territory and also almost the final blows of the entirety of the Spitfire here. Really ferocious output. Always playing in a position to get full value out of those amplification matrices. And sometimes these grenades just come in, land, and catching so many strays at the start of these fights from Birdring, shutting down the Spitfire before the fights are really able to begin. Smurf obviously is someone this year, Matt, who we've known to be just masterful at a dive tank, or mostly Winston, right? Where we saw Twilight in this roster a little bit. But now we're seeing that this Uprising team with the pieces they have, meta agnostic. They can come into a brawl, a rush meta, and still have high impact. Smurf can do it all. Birdring is incredibly flexible, and Decay just does what needs to be done. Their backline's also ferocious. This is a team to be feared by all.
Yes, and I also think that London is a team that is a little bit scary as well, in the sense that how do you can obviously game plan against them, right? Because kind of what they're going to do, but trying to find people that you can scrim who are like London, not really, right? How do you go about prepping for this type of scenario? And then also it kind of feels like they're playing with house money, the London Spitfire, right? Where Boston 11-5, you're in contention to maybe not even be in the play-in, right? Though this is not a series where London is favored by really just about anybody. So London comes in playing with house money, very difficult to kind of get a read on and how to play. And they play an interesting style, right? Something that not a lot of people can replicate.
So Suravasa is the kind of map where we see a lot of Mei played at times by these teams. It's always Lucio. Plenty of the Bastion, Baptiste looks. Sometimes we've seen Kiriko in the mix, sometimes Ilari to some degree. But it's a map whose sort of favoured compositions fits both these teams quite well. It'll be Smurf getting to play the Orisa here with the Decay Genji.
The sim could be super beneficial here as well, right? A lot of the talk about Flashpoint has been, the necessity for Lucio and speed and, mobility to get those extra fights on some of these points. Having the sim is even just going to amplify that.
Yeah, 100%. And already the mobility from Lee Jae on Decay allows them to take these high ground positions that London can't really match without a TP of their own, which they're not going to waste on something rather sort of superfluous. But it can be powerful to be able to play from here. A lot of pressure coming down on Smurf's head here. Spark are also struggling, though, to find breathing room. A lot of poke damage. And Decay can actually commit to some degree and get out alive. So frustrating for the Spitfire as the Uprising take the point early.
Yeah, you just see how much more sturdy the Orisa is, compared, remember when they were playing the Junker Queen, in the first map, right? Being able to stand on the point, spear, fortify. Oh, that's a big pick off, though. Decay gets taken out by Admiral off the high ground.
That's gargantuan stuff from Admiral, just a pick clean on the Genji. The Uprising still hold the point, though, but the reposition combined with the damn Matrix means that eventually, yes, the Spitfire will be able to move into position and set up shop here on our first point.
So I don't know if you caught that, but typically, like I mentioned before, they usually drop the Matrix and then TP to the backside of it, right? That time they TP across, and then once they actually kind of get some of those cooldowns out of Smurf, that's when they decide to drop the Matrix. Let's see where this kill happens. He must have taken some damage from somebody else and just finish
from
off.
the low ground. But again, I think some people, when they play Lucio, it tends to happen at some levels where you forget how important it is just to be kind of holding mouse one all the time. Just hold M1. A lot of the time they try and reposition and work on the crossfade, timing and all that kind of stuff. But you build those sound barriers much quicker with that poke damage. Hey, you find kills like that, you're laughing. Oh, Birdering, okay, look at that. Lana got snapped up yet again. Always seeming to find the Baptiste is Birdering at the start of these fights.
Yeah, and you just, I mean, the grenade is massive, right? Obviously going through the damage, but you also see, like, the Reinhardt obviously cannot play on the point in that type of scenario, right? Hottie's shield is basically broken. He's just kind of standing behind that pillar, just waiting to kind of get ran down.
Smurf's ability to stand on the point is cooldown dependent, whereas Hardy's is really about the amount of shield he's got to work around. Because he has no defensive cooldowns outside of said shield.
They get leeching on,
Yep.
so they can't really escape now. They're kind of stuck.
Yeah, Smurf trying to walk away to Fortify here. Unlikely he gets away with this one for free. Backbone definitely looking for him, as are now the rest of the Spitfire after capping the point. I think they have an idea where the Orisa is.
Hi there. Hello.
They have to wait.
Don't think they're going to push him, though?
Oh,
Yeah, you're going to get one more fight. Look how split they are.
I don't think you want to do this. I think let him take the initiative before we have a chance to set up. Birdring is vulnerable right
They
now.
know that Birdring's up there?
I don't know, but he got Sparker for his trouble. Immortality field here. Birdring can play from that position again. Smurf shrugs off the shadow and comes forward with the spear spin. There's got to be a Terror Surge here to follow it up. And there it is. Boston take the point. He never had to use that Orisa ultimate at all, and Decay gets a screamer of a blade. London had Boston split in two and still can't cap it back.
That is a brutal way to lose that point. You had an opportunity there. Like, I almost feel like if they just jumped to the high ground and just, like, gunned down Birdring, right? He was up there alone. Like, they could have just jumped on the boxes, taken him out, right? Like, remove so much damage from the fight. But even still, there's no way for them to get back in towards that point.
Frustrating for the Spitfire. That was a very hotly contested first point on this map. And now the Uprising with the initiative get to set up here for the second. Smurf will play close to the door, hoping to be clear some of these sim turrets and give them the option of coming forward. But Sparker in wheels mode through the window is scary. No full cap here for the Uprising, but they get it just for a moment. The Spitfire step off the point, and here comes the Terror Surge. Smurf, though, I mean, there's a lot of damage coming his way. The air matrix makes it hard to calculate your survivability.
Yeah, I mean, the air matrix is gone at that time. I think what he's trying to do there is he had already used Fortify in this. Oh, Spear Spin. Hold on, this fight is not over. Leeching on both supports in Birdring still alive. They just wipe London like it's nothing.
That's absurd. That should not be happening. You lose Smurf there for nothing. He goes in with the Terror Surge, gets brought down, as like you said, already those cooldowns had been expended. Two supports and your boy Birdring. The Uprising able to take the point, and that's the second back-breaking fight result in a row here for the London Spitfire. They've got to keep those heads high, but they're falling behind awfully fast.
Yeah, and sometimes what you also see is, maybe Smurf was going for it there. It's like the Terror Surge not really to get the kills, but to actually get back into Fortify, right? To be able to get some healing there during that. No damage is just secondary at that point.
This is a decent response to the wall. The Spitfire plays semi-predictably behind it, because they won't extend past it. Birdring, though, still can't find any purchase with that ability, and a Smurf to fall first instead. Immortality Field for Atlanta was huge there. Keeps his team standing, but now the Uprising are feeding in. They know they've lost this fight. Losing Smurf so early, they'll have to give it up.
Yes, but they do get 99, right? And when they come back, they'll have a blade, but you do have the sound barrier on the other side. So maybe this is one where London can keep fighting this out, but they got to go back. I mean, you see how far Admiral has to go back to kind of start taxiing that is Sparker back into the fight.
Yeah, this is far from a power spike for the Boston Uprising, economically speaking.
Yeah.
So how do they eke out a victory on this point? Because again, this is ticking up awfully fast. If you're used to control, then Flashpoint points can get away from you awfully fast. It's like double the speed that those tick up at. Decay goes low there. They have an Amp Matrix to play with as well. So that combined with Birdring's Assault mode could be pretty big. Yeah, forces Hardy off the point and he loses his shield there. So it'll be a while before that's back. There's the Immortality Field, it got used. No sound barrier out yet, and they've lost Izayaki. Yeah, the Uprising are running out of time to make something happen, and Sparker just picks him off through the arches. My God.
Yeah, I mean, Sparker just, he goes absolutely ham in that fight, right? Being able to get that first kill to kick things off. And with the grenade is Legion trying to escape, but I don't think you're going to get another fight here, as I think you may end up having to give this point up.
That fight began ostensibly at like 38, 39% for the Spitfire. You only have so many chances to take these points. It's punishing. Off to Garden next. Probably the most distinctive point on this map.
See. Yeah, and this is a pretty good point for Symmetra as well, right? Like some really nice close quarter area fights, the walls that they kind of have to walk past for turrets. So This might actually be pretty good here, you know, advantageous for London's comp.
Spitfire get here first. Decay will try and play around the planter box here, but his turret's all over. He's going to circumvent those. Birdwing going to be knocked out of assault mode because of the shatter, and Smurf doesn't have a chance to fortify. He'll do it now, belatedly. Now going to throw the Terror Surge in. Hardy can barely get away. He's hardly clinging on to life. And Decay finishes the job there with a dash reset. Now the Symbol's in play, and Izayaki has nowhere to go. His Exo Boots might give him altitude, but not enough latitude, as Backbone lasers his limbs off.
Yeah, and a really interesting use of the artillery there by Sparker. As soon as the Terror Surge came down, Smurf obviously immobile. He just drops it right on top of his head. Just goes for the Orisa. It takes him out. So London gets control of this point. This is huge. A little bit of a swing point, right? Whoever wins this goes to map point.
Yep. We're at an inflection point in this map. Sound barrier up for Lee Jae Gon here. It could be crucial, especially when you have to respond quickly to an Ant Matrix. Bastion play. Birdring teases now. Getting some pressure on Hardy's shield. It's going to be the reposition now from the backside. Ant Matrix up for the Landon. Seen better days. That Immortality Field is taken down. And the Uprising take cover. Immortality Field to keep Smurf in the fight. For how long? Not long enough. He'll get Hardy. But they've lost Lee Jae Gon and Decay. But Boston flipped in the meantime. Birdring going to play from behind the pillar. He's going to get some healing and play around the Ant Matrix. And Admiral just serves himself up. But Spark is going to be there coming through the TP as well. And so does Spitfire outlast those first two picks, the Lucio, the Genji. That's what allows the London Spitfire to win out in the end.
I mean, it feels like Sparker's having a tremendous map, but it also feels like Landon as well. Just getting so much value out of these, you know, Ant Matrices, where that time, I know Boston, they push up forward, they have their sound barrier. It's a nice immortality field from Landon, and then the Ant Matrix there towards the end allows Sparker to pick up some kills.
Important fight here. London looking to get ahead and go to Flashpoint point, we'll call it. Okay, we have the wheels mode from Birdring already used here. Hardy going to be kept alive. The Sim Wall going to help as well. They're trying to stave. Oh, they can't get Smurf out of the picture, and Decay shuts down the beat. And 2 extra kills to his name. Talk about an outsized impact on the fight. The Decay Genji is nasty.
That's the second time this series we've seen that happen. Where Admiral not able to get the sound barrier off the first time. It was Lee Jae Gon booping him up into the sky. This time, it is Decay just taking him out. Where I was shocked to, like, you see how low Hardy was on Admiral's screen. They didn't go for the sound barrier then, and maybe even try and get like aggressive, right?
Yeah.
I know it's that final fight. They're gonna have to use Blade anyway, right?
It's tough, man.
Or win it and save it for the next one. Now you're in a spot where Boston could potentially seal this point.
Admiral at the helm of the SS Ajax. A chance to redeem himself here, though, in an important fight. Ant Matrix, Birdwing going to spray at it here, covering fire to try and keep heads down, but Backbone was able to find Decay to start the fight. Here comes the Mortar Strike. Smurf, Terror Surge, no one there to see it. Like a bear in the woods, apparently. He'll back up and stave off Backbone for the time being. But it's not really enough to keep the rest of the Spitfire away. Birdwing's going to go for it, though. It's a sound barrier now for that extra durability, and it's pause for thought. Now Landon has to pop that regenerative burst, but it's not enough to keep him alive. And the Boston Uprising just out-muscle the Spitfire. And what an important point. Garden goes the way of the Uprising.
I mean, one team gets a use of their sound barrier, the other does not, right? That ends up being kind of what decides that point, where Admiral ends up getting taken out by Decay right as he's about to drop that beat that maybe would have kept the Spitfire in it. That time, it's a little bit of a messy start to the fight, kills back and forth, but Lee Jae Gon gets the sound barrier off, gives some health over to Birdring, and he's able to just push on forward, get those kills, and put Boston on map point.
What's the setup here for this next fight? Boston, play point. Don't have a lot to work around. The Shatter and the Sim Wall, that's just a very scary prospect to face. Here comes a wall. Hardy trying to send a fire strike. He already has that Shatter built up, though. But all of the Uprising playing pretty cannily around that corner. Mortar Strike comes in, forces an early Immortality Field. That may be critical. Still, the Spitfire, through that, are able to take the point. Here's the Shatter catch to Smurf and Birdring. Immortality Field only covers up Smurf. Birdring is left on his own, outside of it. Now Hardy can work around Smurf. He doesn't really want to spend his time swinging at the Orisa, but Sparker does the dirty work for him. London, convincing fight win here behind that Sim Wall and the Shatter.
Yeah, it's a nice Shatter from Hardy, connects with the Bastion in the Orisa, but the Immortality Field does not cover Birdring, so they're able to get rid of him pretty fast. So, see, are you going to be able to get it? No, they're going to get back around probably the same time here. So
one more fight.
The one thing though is that London ends up using their beat there, Mitch, and then you're going to have Blade on the other side of things. So let's see if Decay can get really big value out of this.
Last time, he had an incredible fight with that Blade. Dashes in, Blade gets brought out straight away. We're going to have the Uprising pushing past. Then Ant Matrix for the time being, but Decay can't get much done. He's going to be chased down. And he's fish food. Here's the teleport from the Spitfire. They still control the point, crucially. With Decay out of the picture now, and Smurf has to push forward. He's going to go for the Terror Surge now. Sparker can't make out the wood for the trees. Eventually, Backbone are hard to get caught in the Maelstrom, though, and Smurf finds 3 in the fight. The Uprising hang on. They have a chance to win the map here if they can stick the landing.
I mean, the Orisa is just so disruptive, right? It feels like Smurf can always go forward, and he's never truly weak, right? With between Fortify and the Spear Spin and
Sound
getting
barrier?
Tons of healing from, yeah, I mean, Izayaki and then the Sound Barrier. I mean, feels like he's so difficult to dislodge from the point or just get out of your team, right? He just kind of gets right up in the mix as it looks like the Spitfire are going to go from the outside here.
Oh, they take on. He almost gets caught by the triple turret setup from Backbone, but instead it's Backbone punished. Yeah, he doesn't care. He does not care. He takes down Admiral and Backbone, one after another, and then sends Sparker over the edge. It's a watery grave here for the London Spitfire, as they have barely one more chance to do this, and Smurf knows, wait a minute, there's 20% left, let's push up, let's stop them from touching at all. The TP gets used early, so the Spitfire are forced now to throw themselves into the meat grinder. Oh, Admiral, again! The SS Ajax, he's going down with the ship apparently. Hardy gets caught by Smurf again, and those Sparker found a nice little 3-piece there. It will be the Boston Uprising claiming victory on Suravasa. And what a frustrating outing for London.
I mean, yeah, it's a brutal loss there for London, who, you look back, they had an opportunity to like win every single point that Boston kind of ended up taking, right? Even that first point, London had a great opportunity to do so, but you don't really get any benefit of Sound Barrier the entire map. That is quite brutal there for the London Spitfire.
I mean, you lost 2 of them, right? Both in very, very pivotal engagements. I mean, it's a 1,000-yard stare from Admiral right now, because what do you really do about that? Time after time, you're having agency taken out of your own hands by these disruptive displacement abilities. You have to jump in here to use your Sound Barrier. It's very hard to like mitigate your vulnerability to those boops and knockups. But man, you've got to be hurting after that one.
Yeah, I mean, here's the first one, right? They actually get the Sound Barrier off here, but they just get booped back, and they're not able to get a touch on the point. Where, man, it feels like Boston just they played great in the clutch, right? In those big moments where they needed to go huge. I mean, that's when Boston really came through. I thought, Birdring and the supports, specifically had a really good map, and then I think Smurf's Orisa the entire time he's been playing it in the series.
Hello, darkness,
been
my
really
old friend.
I mean, you know what it is? He'd actually does he even see where Decay is? I mean, because he actually gets hit once with the blade, and then it decides to
But he's
pop
doing
it
the right
like
thing.
there from that
He's
POV.
beating onto the stairs, right? He's beating onto a higher ground than he starts from. So it obviously makes it quicker to get that Sound Barrier off, but it was a matter of milliseconds there that Decay catches him with that blade swing. Punishing. You've got to shake it off. You've got to carry on here. The London Spitfire have a chance still to stay vital in this upper bracket, but we know the Uprising are not playing any games anymore. None outside of this one. Stick around for map 4 and potentially a decider, a pivotal one either way. Oh, the Boston Uprising, a team of champions, a team who've hoisted trophies, many of them before, now on Operation Get Decay, a championship. They know what it takes to be on that stage. They know what it's cost them to be here. Decay leading the charge, hungry for glory. Glory like he's never touched before. And so far, he's reaching that hand out. What a showing from his Genji over the course of this series.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragon Blade kills, not a ton here, but, you know, in a per 10, but the ones that he's gotten that we've actually gotten to see, you know, have been really impactful ones. You know, always feels like he's, you know, going after Admiral and getting him at the right time.
Yeah, I think the Spitfire are having trouble keeping their supports alive when they need them. A lot of sound barriers getting interrupted here. Tougher Admiral, there are a lot of threats to that. Whether he's like in midair, just getting blown up by Bastion in assault mode, or Decay with a blade here, shutting him down midway through. There are a lot of very hostile elements here to both, you know, Admiral and Landon. Wayward Bastion grenades also. This is just, he did the right thing. He 180 to try and be on the stairs. Like, you cannot argue with what Admiral tried to do there. It's just Decay. He just wanted it more.
No, I mean, and also, I mean, Admiral gets hit a little bit right before that, right? So targets him, you know, gets him in. But I will say, although for the mishaps and things that have gone sideways, London is still very much like in this, right? Like London actually played pretty well on that map outside of like a few, you know, small mistakes and opportunity to win it.
Oh, man.
Definitely not out of the question.
The first point, the fight on the first point.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Smurf gets caught out of position because he ejects mid-fight and has to get taxied back into the fight by Lee Jae-gon. And Boston are coming from two different directions. I don't know how London end up sort of losing that fight. They try a sim TP play and get absolutely washed. That's definitely one to look at on the take, because sometimes this repositioning, you want to get aggressive, you want to start these fights, but if you lack information, sometimes you can put yourself into actually compromising positions or you know, situations where your win percentage can drop precipitously. So it's hard. I mean, not only for the team playing against the TP shenanigans, but also for the one trying to make it happen. I'll agree with you, Matt, though. Really competitive map. I mean, Suravasa could have gone to 5 points quite easily. Just a couple of clutch moments here. Sparker had a fantastic map on that Bastion and even featured in some of our highlight reel there. Well deserved. He was definitely a standout for the Spitfire there.
I mean, look, I think London's playing good enough today to beat a lot of other teams in the play-in bracket, right?
Absolutely.
Just probably, you know, maybe not this Boston Uprising team who I know barely finishes outside of, I know, our upper echelon, who automatically qualify to Toronto. I'd love to know what Backbone is singing here.
Let's talk about it.
Do you think it's the Spitfire song?
Yes. Yep. We Spitfire. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty motivating. I feel it. If I was like a Spitfire player and I had that in the headset, that probably would help a little bit. But let's talk about it, because the loser of this match number 3 goes down to play the Washington Justice. A team that, although they had a good start, they really struggled against this this new phase of Defiant dominance. So that's really going to be a match well worth looking at. No one really wants to be there, but I think the Boston Uprising, if they look across the field, they say, if we don't slip up, if we don't trip ourselves over, put a stick in our own spokes, we should be headed to these playoffs in Toronto. But you've got a Defiant who's coming alive at the right time, who wants to fight for their right to play in front of a home crowd. Like, you can't replicate that as any other team. That is an intangible that only they can claim.
Don't sleep on the Titans as well. I know the Titans obviously have a tough game against the Defiant coming up, but still, I think an opportunity to make a little bit of a run in that lower bracket.
Yeah, I think like seeing the Titans play the Defiant recently felt pretty unconvincing, but they're always a team that adapts and adjusts really quickly. That's something that Boston, actually now back on topic on this game, have done all through the year. They were able to really master the dive composition, especially defensively, and leveraging Twilight to his fullest. And then when they realized that the tides were changing and that Russian Brawl would be the flavor of the month, Smurf was so well suited to make that adaptation, and Birdring arguably found himself in a better position. He didn't have to play Sombra anymore. Now he has to play Bastion and whatever the heck he wants, some Widow here and there. This team is so flexible, whereas for the Spitfire, the tides blow in the right direction for them to find success. So these two teams have come to strengthen this metagame through very different mechanisms, Matt.
Yes, I was laughing because I believe in the chat somebody had, I think it was somebody from Boston had asked somebody from London, what are you guys playing this map? And Hadi responded, Ryan. like he was giving away some masterful strategy, but it'll be the compositions we've seen pretty much most of the series. I really think the Orisa has been a good look here for Boston, you know, recently. I think the one time they lost, right, on Control, well, there's two rounds, right? But the ones that they lost, they were playing that Junker Queen for a period of time.
That's right. The high ground here, less impactful because no one's bringing a Sojourn into this game. We've seen teams that like force Sojourn here just like really obsess over using those bridges. We'll see a lot more neutral fighting here. Smurf more than happy to push into this alcove. He wants to get rid of that TP. He's shooting past Hardy at the TP to try and make sure there's no route of escape for the Spitfire, but so far unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can look at some of like his cooldowns. This is a nice cheeky TP there for the London Spitfire, but Smurf is able to like spear spin, then end up fortifying after that, and then he pretty much has like a 1 to 2 second gap before he has another spin. So he's able to kind of cycle those. Oh, right as it's gonna be dueling animations come down as Landon walks face first into the bird ring.
Well, that smell is Swiss cheese. That's what the Spitfire resemble right now. That is 3 kills for Birdring in that fight, opening up with a grenade. Again, just catching Landon. That seems like magnetic. It seems like they are so often connecting directly. And again, the amount of damage they do is terrifying. Nice start for the Uprising here. They bide their time. They wait for the cute reposition for the Spitfire and punish.
Yes, now London on the attack, so to speak, where Lee Jae-gon, as soon as I said his name, I was going to say, you know, it ends up using the sound barrier where you have an advantage for London with it in this fight, but end up losing Lee Jae-gon right off the rip. Actually, is it a bigger loss to lose Sparker? It might be. Possibly.
Yeah, especially with Birdring now finding Landon after the fact here. Backbone, the body blocking from Birdring there has been so important. They keep Izzyaki alive, but they lose Birdring for it. And somehow Smurf and Lee Jae-gon can't intervene. Now it's 2 versus 2. But the bot pushed in Boston's direction. It looks like they're happy enough with that progress. They'll give a bit of space to allow this fusion driver to go to work.
Yes, Hadi kind of want to push into this, so it looks like they want to like wait, get everybody back here before they actually kind of like move even towards midway through the map. It seems like they're like oddly kind of content fighting from that position.
As they try and advance, I think.
Now they are.
Yeah, it takes longer for them to group up, is the only thing. The bot moves pretty fast if it's, you know, territory it's already trodden before. Okay, where's the other TP? That's what I really want to know. Decay is down back. But what is this? These left clicks? I can't even tell. Just balls getting thrown out by Backbone, getting eaten. Here we go. It's going to be an ultimate here from Sparker now. Spurf going to cop 1 and 2. Birdring also getting tickled by that Mortar Strike, forcing an Immortality field there. Now Izzyaki and Birdring are well and truly out of position. You don't want to be there at all.
Yeah, and I really like what they do there when the Bastion is using the artillery. Hadi and the rest of the team kind of push on forward as, let's see, this is just a...
Does he turret bomb?
Right.
You're kidding me! And then he just...
A TP and just a right click.
Yeah, he charges, hits the TP, let's go. TP's back. Oh, that's just... Oh, she's so powerful.
I was going to say, though, when they're using the artillery, they speed and get Hadi in there, and especially putting pressure down on the Smurf, and then try and, like, use the artillery behind. Like, force, you know, have the Reinhardt push them back into it.
All right, well, Decay's able to clean up those turrets from long range by deflecting many of those projectiles back at them. Here's a Simwall. Very, very hard to shake the Spitfire free of this position now, but if you can get the bot away from them, you might have had a chance, but very quickly the Spitfire move back into position, hackles raised, and force the Uprising into the choke once more.
I mean, we're almost like halfway through this game, you know, 39 to 38, yeah. Nice beats there from London, actually got it off. Now you see what an impact it might make.
No love there for Decay, no chance to get value out of the blade. That was really just the turret mode from Birdring forcing them back here. Terror Surge on the high ground, Landon nowhere to go apparently. But hang on, we're on the move here. Smurf's very low, Backbone's able to pick him off here.
They get the lead.
That is crazy. Yeah, they just inched it over and they have a player advantage here. They can keep going.
Yes, they get Lee Jae-gon here as well as
checkpoint.
They may get this first check.
Bot check?
I mean, that would be huge.
That's unreal.
Oh, the bot scratch unlocked.
Okay. Very close fight there. Smurf, again, both times he's gone for the Terror Surge on this map, he's kind of been punished, or he's come out with very minimal value as a result. Got to be careful about how you make use of those. There aren't as many tight chokes to catch people in on this map.
London is okay playing from this position, right? You have Landon up on the high ground with that Amp Matrix. There's no way they can kind of like walk through this choke. And once you get to circumvent this, right? Shatter does, just gets Lee J gone. But now you're going to have this, this setup here for the Bastion. So you're in a good spot for London. There's no reason to push on forward at
That Shatter bought a lot of time for Hardy. The entirety of the Spitfire were forced well out of position on the high ground because of the mortar strike. And Hardy could have been devoured very quickly if they'd sped onto him. But it Shatters, slows down the speeder, and now he's able to stay alive with his team with full oversight and a TP to get Hardy back up there. This is sick. Izayaki, though, picked off Backbone, and look, he's furious.
And I really like the way that they actually use that TP to get Hardy out and up to the high ground, right? But just a little bit of an off angle there. Izayaki's able to find that kill as now the bot is just running. Wait,
He had beat.
They want to fight this.
Lee J got out beat, he got shattered. The Spitfire get one themselves, though. So asymmetrical advantage and utility for the Spitfire. They also use that sim wall, but they're even in this fight. Now they're getting pressured back. This Amp Matrix has to be a difference maker, but Decay doesn't want to hang around. That eventually is going to be removed. A sim TP. Oh, murdering looking the wrong way. Hey, look at that over there. Is it a bird plane? No, it's Hardy coming at you thick and fast. Here's Decay, though, able to stay out of the fight for the first few moments. Now dives in from an off angle. And Smurf, what a nice connection with that Javelin. We'll have a checkpoint here for the Uprising.
So you obviously have a lead here for London, but it feels like a large investment in that fight to maybe just kind of like hold the payload progress or the bot progress here from the Boston Uprising, and you know, you end up losing that as, look, you come back in, you have Terror Surge, you have an Amp Matrix here. Hardy's got that Shatter again, but Shatter is so useful.
It's three!
You get Immortality. Oh,
he caught 3 with it, and they were outside of the Immortality field, Matt. They were too far back.
Yeah.
Just the edge of that catches. Birdering Izayaki at least. That is absolutely humongous stuff from Hardy. And it puts the Spitfire now back in a position to assail or to re-extend this lead as Jay Gon got staggered.
Because you think you're in a great spot there, because you can obviously put down some damage around the corner like Birdring and Smurf did. When they get shattered, you just drop that like Immortality field. You have a little bit of a corner to hide it behind. They have to run into you, right? You have a boop to knock them back. Displacement, like you're in a pretty decent spot there. So all things considering, and they just give it up.
Back to the high ground for Hardy again. Pretty telegraphed move from the Spitfires. They've revealed their hand a little bit already. Immortality field does its job. Izayaki pleased with that result now as we see a TP to the left-hand side. Smurf quickly forced to send and deliver. Spear spin. Backbone gets caught by Birdring there. Not ideal. Decay also threatening the backline inside that window, and Birdring has found another one. Hardy falls under his scrutiny as well. The Bastion is having a massive impact. And the Uprising swing it back. The pendulum now heading in favor of the Uprising crew. And one fight puts them in the lead.
As Hardy just gets bullied into a corner there by Smurf.
The back spawn.
So, oh yeah, you get back spawn. Well, your back spawn's for your Lucio and your other support, and you also have the TP. So not the worst case scenario. Decay does have an advantage with this blade with no beat on the other.
This is it. This is the tipping point. Sim wall thrown up here. That is dangerous. The Spitfire have it all. It's an embarrassment of riches, and they leverage it perfectly. Even holding onto a beat for the next fight, which could be critical against Decay's blade he's been sitting on.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, right, for London, you invest everything, you win that fight. You feel like now, what, the next fight? No, they just leave.
They got him, they got him.
Okay, no, it's right.
What? Wow. Sorry? Immortality field? Was he above it with his exo boots? That might have been a critical mistake for Izayaki.
He might have jumped up around the corner and gotten like hit by it or taken some collateral damage.
That could be the series.
They're gonna give up progress out of this.
This lets London back in. The map 5 now well and truly on the table. Hardy gonna back up. Another shatter here. Will be map ending. He's forced to play around the corner. This should be pretty clear what he's got in his hand right now. The shatter's gonna be tough. The fortified Orisa is gonna be. Oh, the TP! Saving Private Hardy. He gets out of dodge and now can drop back onto the bot. 10 seconds left in the round. The Uprising have to win this fight and the next to end the series here. Hardy still holding on to the shatter, and he gets it! It's 3 players! Yes, the Immortality Field comes in time, and Birdring will be knocked out of it. It's going to be a sound barrier. It had to be there for Lee Jae-gon, and the plate for Decay could be a difference maker. He got Hardy, spark it down, and that'll be enough. Boston has to be flawless, though, from here on out. Atlanta gets one on the exit.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're going to have the bot going the complete opposite direction now. You gave up, a decent amount of progress there as well. As Lee Jae-gon's going to go back, have to escort at least one player. Oh, it's both supports. That's quite brutal here. No opportunity to like get off of
They have to move the bot
as well. You probably just have to play it a little bit of a 50-50.
If London know this, they should go for it. If they know this, they should go now.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
They don't. Okay, they're going to go for it anyway. Here's Smurf. Going to be Javelin Spin. Attempted a Terror Surge now as the Mortar Strike comes in. Birdring finds one to trade, but Boston have lost their tank. Spark is down. Decay dives in, able to find a huge pick, but gives up his life for it. A 3 versus 3, but Hardy's out of position. Here come the Uprising. They can still go at this now. There's only 2 players left for the London Spitfire, and it has to be these 2. There's not enough time for the respawns, but Hardy's so low. Admiral's the only healer that can keep him alive. Elite Jae-gon's going around behind the barrel. He got him behind the barrier. And here comes the bot. There's no one here for the London Spitfire. Landon can't touch it all. Disruptor shot thrown in. And the Uprising say you can rebuild your legacy from the lower bracket, lads. We're heading on.
That is a brutal way to lose there for the London Spitfire. I'm also just not convinced. Like, I think these are the 2 best teams we probably have in the play-in. I mean, I don't think somebody's going to play Boston as close as this. Boston is a very good team, as London with some leads on Flashpoint, some leads, even at times in Midtown, and then here on Push, they give them away. Boston comes up huge.
And let's not forget, they were, 20 meters behind in their own half of the map when overtime came on. So they win a very close fight and then have only 3 players to push the bot. Now, London maybe I guess they don't figure out that the backline is staggered to some degree or is coming off like a long respawn. They eventually figure it out, but they go just a second too late because Smurf buys enough time by throwing down that Terror Surge in the middle of them. Yeah. Buys enough time for the rest of the Uprising to come in. Decay just makes a beeline for the backline.
Yeah, I mean, the Terror Surge puts down some damage. It also allows the Artillery Strike to get some extra value there as well. An easy spot for the Immortality Field to come in for a brief moment in time too is Boston clutched up in a huge way.
Yeah, that absolutely sick series. Let's talk player of the match here. A multitude of candidates for this Uprising team, but it's your boy Birdring. He was there at the very beginning. He hoisted that Season 1 trophy. And here, he's holding M1 for the boys.
Yeah, I mean, his Bastion play was really strong. I know they obviously needed it to be because there's so much pressure coming in from the London Spitfire with all these like flanks and different things with the teleporters. But Birdring, was huge throughout it, specifically on the last map. I mean, look at this. Through that Ant Matrix, I believe he gets like 3 kills
in this
here
fight
as well.
Yeah, and multiple fights went down the same way. It's a very powerful combo right now, the Baptiste and the Bastion. With that grenade being as strong as it is, you can see the cute tech you can sort of do with it here. Some of these mortar strikes as well, the timing was very, very good from Birdring. And alongside Decay, I mean, you have a dynamic duo. You might not have the Symmetra to make these, these pivots, these attempts at outmaneuvering, but you get it done the old-fashioned way. And over the course of this whole match here, it's 12 final blows per 10 on the Bastion. An absolute filthy output.
Yeah, I mean, the hero damage as well, right? Bastion currently in the meta, just able to do so much inside of Wheels mode. It's really just like inside of Wheels mode and then with the grenade, right? Those are the 2 things that he is doing tons of damage with at the moment. And you see it's like lots of burst damage, obviously, with the Ant Matrix involved, even to a higher degree. But in those windows, I mean, the Bastion is so lethal.
And this set, no pun intended, I assume, but this sets up quite a matchup in the lower bracket, of course, with the loser of this series taking on the Washington Justice. My, let's have our desk break it down and talk about the implications of this critical upper bracket match after this.
따개비.
해보셨어? 뒤에 돈다 이거?
앞에 계속 갈면서 하면 좋아. 라인 루즈. 포커싱해. 루즈. 야, 오너만 잡아 이거.
루시 봐.
키리코. 나 불사 있어. 나 뒤에 나가줄게 파티.
Those were the winning moments for the Boston Uprising. What a fantastic match. And with that, Boston put themselves in a very good position to be able to punch their ticket to Toronto. They will be facing off against the winner of our next match, which we will, of course, discuss in just a little bit. But first things first, let's break down all the action we just got to see. Boston and London, it is a 3-1 scoreline. I said it's going to be an easy one. It was not an easy one. This was really, really well played by both sides.
Back and forth all the way. I mean, we really thought that London Spitfire were maybe gonna, get away with it here. The great Reinhardt play here on Oasis, and I mean, it looked really close for the Boston Uprising. Playing a bit of a Junker Queen here on University, didn't really work out too hot here. But on Midtown, I mean, DK's Genji really came through. Bit of a stylistic difference between both of those teams, and it was funny to see both kind of styles, like Jake pointed out, with the Symmetro teleporters from London Spitfire at times, but also Boston Uprising going for a more dive-heavy approach. So really enjoyable series from that standpoint.
I mean, ultimately, these teams, Boston decides to take London in a rush mirror, right? These are both rush comps, both running a lot of the same heroes, 3 of the same heroes. The question is, do you prefer the Orisa and the Genji? Do you prefer the Ryan and the Sim? And I think Decay really put his money where his mouth was as far as this Genji pick goes. Genji gets so much value in the Bastion mirror, right? With Bastion being such a strong hero, Deflect has insane potential. You can deflect like those amplified fire strikes, amplified damage from Bastion, and just, I mean, turn that around on the enemy. Burgering did that time and time again. And not only that, adding this flanker into your comp allows you to pressure objectives, play off angles in a way that the Rhine comp cannot replicate. It needs to stay closer together.
It was a fantastic match. A lot of great highlights to choose from, and we only got to see a few of those. But Johnny, you actually caught some gold medal Olympic levels of dive for us that you want to break down.
Yeah, well, pretty much what Jake just said about the Genji. I mean, the Genji was the stylistic difference between both of these teams, I feel like. Obviously, the Orisa as well. But, I mean, this is really Boston Uprising playing to his strengths. Decay and Lee Jae-gon being in the backline of the London Spitfire. It just caused so much trouble for both Admiral, and at times we saw the sound barrier. Admiral wasn't able to drop it. But also Landon, like getting booped around. You have a Genji on top of you, the Immortality Field getting forced out. Like Lee Jae-gon was an absolute menace in this series. So yeah, a lot of decay on the Genji, the kill feed. But Lee Jae-gon was so impactful in this one. Yes, he did get picked quite a few times early on here on Flashpoint. Lee Jae-gon did get picked. But these aggressive dives, it really messed with the London Spitfire, because now not only is Hadi under a lot of pressure with his shield, because you got Birdring on the Bastion, you got Smurf on the Orisa, there is so much poke. So Hadi can't really stand up to it with all that shield damage going through. But you also have Lee Jae-gon, Decay in the backline. And I thought it was really impressive how Boston Uprising came out, played a stylistically different rush compositions, and it really worked out for them.
I feel like even in some moments, Smurf using his cooldowns on Orisa, he's in the dive too. Like first you think he's fighting the Rhine, and then no, he's in your backline, he's picking people off one after the other. So it's a lot of threats. London managed it admirably well though. They honestly resisted a lot of those pressured, had great team fights. So close match.
Absolutely. But the man of the hour, Decay, and his Genji is, of course, the talk of town. And that's why Danny will have a quick chat with him for our winner's interview.
That is right. Zoe, thank you so much for the post-match interview. We got Decay on the line. Decay, big congratulations. Great showing from the Boston Uprising. I want to ask you about the comp that we just saw from you guys. The Orisa, Lucio, Genji, BAP, I guess, Bastion comp that you guys pulled out against London Spitfire. Was this do you believe this to be the counter to the Rhine Rush? And also, how did you guys come up with this new composition? 자, 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 오늘 보스턴이 보여주신 조합 중에서 오늘 뭐라고 할까요? 오리사 러쉬라고 할까요? 아무튼 오늘 좀 되게 새로운 모습을 좀 선보이셨는데 이 겐지 오리사 조합을 오늘 꺼내신 이유가 어떻게 보면은 런던의 그 라인 러쉬를 좀 카운터를 하기 위해 좀 쓰셨는지, 그리고 또 이 새로운 조합을 좀 어떻게 연구해 내셨나요?
솔직히 그냥 조합은 어제 쇼크 경기를 좀 보고 퀸으로 좀 힘들어하는 것 같길래 좀 오리사로 바꾼 감이 좀 없지 않아 있어요.
Okay, first thing for the comp-wise, we actually watched London's match against San Francisco Shock yesterday, and we got the feeling that it could have been a little bit difficult to use our own Junker Queen composition. So we switched gears and we wanted to utilize the Orisa instead of the Junker Queen. All right, so next up, of course, after this win, you guys will be facing up against either Toronto or Vancouver Titans. Who do you think is going to be your next match? 자, 다음 질문으로 이제 오늘 승리를 이유로 이제 다음 경기가 이제 토론토 아니면 밴쿠버 그 둘 중에서 이기는 팀과 경기를 치르시게 되실 텐데 어느 팀이 올라와서 보스턴과 경기를 치르시게 될 것 같으신가요?
일단 토론토가 올라올 것 같고요. 솔직히 토론토가 요즘에 이제 일리아리를 쓴 조합을 잘하는데 그래가지고 좀 많이 밴쿠버 입장에서 좀 힘들어할 것 같은데 아마 그래도 저희가 이제 토론토 정도는 쉽게 이기지 않을까.
All right, I do believe that it's going to be Toronto getting the win against the Vancouver Titans. They're really good utilizing the Iliari composition. So I do feel like Vancouver is going to have a tough time dealing with Toronto's composition in their matchup. But I do feel like if we do go up against Toronto, I think it'll still be an easy win for the Boston Uprising. All right, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much, Decay, and good luck in your next match. 자, 다음 경기 화이팅 하시길 바라면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. Bye bye. He already left. All right. Thank you, production. Cool.
I guess you were down.
Bye. Thank
you. We love you, DK.
Yeah, much love to DK, and of course, congratulations to him and the team. Danny, thank you so much for getting us the inside scoop. Super interesting to hear that they switched gears just overnight and decided to, go for that Orisa strat. Definitely worked out for them. It's good to come prepared and not underestimate opposing teams such as the London Spitfire, which I think Matt and Mitch rightfully said so. They might be looking at as one of, if not the second strongest teams we have. To make it out of the play. And so it remains to be seen which two teams will actually punch their tickets. Now, we talked about the highlights already a little bit. Both the teams, you agreed, have been playing this just really incredibly well. They both play different compositions, but they know the win conditions, and it really just comes down to little differences here.
Yeah, I think ultimately both teams really displayed great understanding of the rush comp, how to leverage their ultimates. And so I want to break down a team fight that I think really helps people at home figure out, like, here's how to deploy the ultimates one after the other in this comp in the rush mirror, especially when the Symmetras are in play. I think that's an ult that is little understood, but in the pro scene, people get really incredible value because they set their whole team up for success with that and the amplification matrix. Two ults that I think you might not consider the most important, but they are really crucial. So we can see in this fight, Boston is retaking here on Oasis University. First, they're going to open up with this amplification matrix. And now, the purpose of this amp matrix is basically just get London off the point, right? London wants to hold these corners, but this amp matrix is going to pressure them. It's going to force them to go back into rooms, back off the point, and give Boston the chance to cap. So great opening window, very textbook play from Izayaki. We could roll the clip here because London is going to respond, right? They let Boston cap just a little, then bring out this sim wall, right? No Bastion on the side of Boston Uprising means unlikely that this sim wall is ever going to break from damage. And so London's buying themselves all this space on the point that now they can come back out, they can hold the contest, trading the ults 1-for-1. This is how you want to play the highest level, right? You don't want to overextend pop too many ults, so trading 1-for-1. But of course, more tricks in the bag of Boston Uprising. We can roll the clip. They delay, and then come in with this beautiful counter sim wall. Now, just as London is running out, Boston, they buy themselves one more time, like this beautiful control of point. The sim wall from London is timing out, and that's going to allow Smurf here. You can see he's already ulting. He swings all the way out onto the point, presses ult right here, and he's going to get right into this grouped up backline that's all trying to play around the sim walls here. So again, the ult's just setting up the team for success, and we can roll the clip from here as giant, enormous 5-man queen ult absolutely forces Admiral to beat. And Decay, this is the perfect moment, right? You've forced everything out. There's nothing left defensively on the London Spitfire. This is all this hard work and preparation on the Boston side has come in to set Decay up. And so, I mean, this should be a perfect blade, right? So we can roll the clip and see what happens. Turns out, no matter how well you set it up, Hottie's still got some more tricks in the bag ready for you. Boston is able to beat and fight this out, but I just thought this was a great example of how the ult cycle goes in the rush comp, and also how these little micro plays like Hottie finding that pin, it changes the game even when Boston should have the advantage.
I mean, it's just incredible, and to be able to break it down for us normal people. To understand the intricacies which you often miss in those big team fights. So thank you so much, Jake. Both those teams would have deserved the W, but it is Boston Uprising moving on in the upper bracket, and you can cheer them on, or any other team with in-game skins as well. We got the support bundles on sale right now. I mean, just look at that Zenyatta, Eliari, and Mercy skin. Like, they're all keepers and takers and whatnot. We will, of course, see those in-game in our ranked games, quick games. Do you have any of those equipped?
Mystery heroes.
Yeah.
Of course.
I like to have like the...
I set you up to lie, and you just didn't buy it.
historical
That's
hero
okay.
combos, you know? You gotta rock like the New York Zen skin for
Cyber
Jonak.
Tracer.
I've got the Happy Ash, personally, the Happy Widow.
I actually
These are
have
good
the
ones.
original LA Valiant green and yellow Genji for
Ooh.
agilities.
That's a great one. It's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. I'll recognize you on the service if I won't ever meet you.
And I
because
bought
we
like
did-
all of the red and yellow Florida Man skins.
Of course,
Because you had to.
because you actually had to.
The Cassidy
no
one is
lies.
legendary.
It actually is. Anyway, that and more we will discuss after the break. We'll be right back, and then we're going to talk about the Battle for Canada 3.0, 2.0, 3.0, I think we agreed on. So all of that after the break. Don't go anywhere.